Our topic today is the visible community. Our passage is from Matthew 5:13 through 16. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Now, this passage comes to us from the Sermon on the Mount, where we've been looking at Dietrich Bonhoeffer's work, The Call to Discipleship. And on this passage, he ties it into this topic of the visible community. We've looked at the last 2 days of Christ calling us out of the world as individuals to follow him, but then not leaving us as individuals, but rather calling us into the church, into a body, into a community. And now we see in this passage what that visible community is to look like, because it really reflects what it genuinely is. Let's read from Bonhoeffer here. Ye are the salt. Jesus does not say, you must be salt. It is not for disciples to decide whether they will be the salt of the earth, for they are so whether they like it or not. They have been made salt by the call they have received. Again, it is, you are salt. He says, ye are salt, but you are salt is right, is the modern translation of that. Not, you have the salt. By identifying the salt with the apostolic proclamation, the reformers robbed the saying of its sting. No, the words of their whole existence, insofar as it is grounded anew in the call of Christ, that same existence which was the burden of the Beatitudes. The call of Christ makes those who respond to it the salt of the earth in their total existence. Now, to summarize there, he's saying that some of the reformers took this to mean the salt of the earth or the light of the world is only in proclaiming the gospel to the world. That's how we are the light. That's how we are the salt. Bonhoeffer challenges that idea and says, rather, in our whole existence, we are to be salt and light. Now, he doesn't mention which reformers he's referring to, just that perhaps that was a view that came out to, kind of challenge, kind of an overemphasis the other way, which is, Christians have to be so visible that they take over everything, right? And they are to somehow not lose their sight of their primary call, is what I think Martin Luther and many of the other reformers are remembering, is that the gospel itself is this light to the world. The gospel itself is salt, right? So I don't think Bonhoeffer denies that, but what he's saying is it's beyond that. It's really a proclamation of our whole existence, of who we are. Let's keep reading. Of course, there is another possibility. The salt may lose its savor and cease to be salt at all. It just stops working. Then it is indeed good for nothing but to be thrown out. That is the peculiar quality of salt. Everything else needs to be seasoned with salt, but once the salt itself has lost its savor, it can never be salted again. Everything else can be saved by salt. However bad it has gone, only salt which loses its savor has no hope of recovery. That is the other side of the picture. That is the judgment which always hangs over the disciples' community. He calls it the disciple community, or the community of the disciples, the church, is what he means, whose mission is to save the world, but which, if it ceases to live up to that mission, is itself irretrievably lost. The call of Jesus Christ means either that we are the salt of the earth, or else we are annihilated. Either we follow the call, or we are crushed beneath it. There's no question of a second chance. So again, Bonhoeffer really wants to challenge us here with identifying what we are. We are the salt of the earth. And if salt loses its saltiness, right, if salt no longer has flavor or preserving power, then it's good for nothing. So if the church loses its identity, if the church loses the realization that it is the salt of the earth, that it is the light of the world, it really loses what it's there for. So it's not just to be an organization, let's say, but rather it's supposed to be a community that lives out its faith, that shines brightly in everything it does. So that's a challenge for us, and I myself will often wonder, like, what does this look like, right? What is this supposed to look like? How far are we supposed to be involved in things like politics and local, whether it be local or state or government or kids softball leagues or baseball teams and basketball? I don't know, right? I think we need to be good members of the community, but at the same time, Christ has called us out of a community, which we just looked at. And so these things really need to be looked at with prayer and discernment. And we need to challenge ourselves, as we are with Bonhoeffer, to read and really see that, sometimes even the reformers disagreed and people disagree with them. And maybe they're right or maybe they're wrong. Maybe Bonhoeffer's wrong. But if we really want to challenge ourselves, I think what Bonhoeffer's getting at here is we are to be a people that shine. We're not to be a nuisance and annoying, but we're to show good. We're to show love. We're to show righteousness. We can go on and on. May you think today about how you can shine, be that light, how you can season and savor and preserve that around you as you live out in faith the gospel. Have a blessed day.